Okay, good afternoon, everybody. And welcome to this afternoon's Ignite session. We're just going to start off with a bit of an intro, but some of you will know who we are. Famous celebrity couple. And I think really, based on kind of some things that have happened to some of our more famous celebrity couples recently, I think that, Alex Wilson, Robin Smith clearly stand the test of time. So, Ant and Decker history, we don't care about them anymore. I clearly don't look like Holla Willoughby. Willoughby. So there's no need to even try to be her. So I think Sonny and Cher, they didn't do it. Ike and Tina didn't do it, but Robin and Alex are here to stay, unfortunately for you guys. So we're just going to introduce the session a little bit. Robin's going to take that away.
Okay, so welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is 2019, it's Brighton, and it's Ignite! Yay! Oh, very good. I was a bit worried about that. I thought the room might be a bit quiet after that. Okay. So, first of all, I just need to clarify one thing. I had a look on the internet last week, and I looked up Ignite and Brighton. And to my horror, BOHS isn't the only person doing Ignite at Brighton. So, what I do want to check, is there anybody here who is expecting to see diversity on their Ignite tour? Well, that's all right then. Now,
that's later tonight at the gala dinner.
Yeah. If, like me, you don't know who diversity are, then you have to ask someone like Alex who watches too much television. So, to make you feel a bit more comfortable, I did a quick search on the internet and pulled up a photograph of them. So there they are. So, and that is why, retrospectively, I have asked a few people if it was okay to use their photograph. Okay, so anyway, it might not be diversity, but however, we have got 9 fantastic occupational hygienists here to give you the presentation. So we don't need them, we can do better than that.
Yeah, a diverse group of speakers. Do you see what I did there?
Oh.
So for those of you who've not been to an Ignite session before, could you move on to the next slide, please? Thank you, sir. The tagline is enlighten us, make it quick. It's all about telling a passionate story, a passionate presentation about something that you want to get across. And it's doing it in 5 minutes with 20 slides. So what we do is, next one, we give that passion, and we always like to see something different. And we like to promote people speaking for the first time. This is a great way to start your career at speaking at conferences. Yeah, it's such a rewarding thing. It's actually not easy. It can be very hard. But doing a 5-minute presentation, it seems better and it sounds better than doing a 20-minute presentation, doesn't it? So we'd like to encourage people who've not done Ignite before to think about it for next year. I'd like you to support these guys doing it this year. And we'll carry on with the intro. So, as we said, it's like a pressure cooker. It's like a presentation in a pressure cooker. You're enlightening us and you're making it quick. Yeah. So, 5 minutes, 20 slides. These guys do not control their slides. They auto-advance every 15 seconds until the end, unless they mess up or faint, and then we'll just drag them off. So, as we said, we've got 9 presenters, diverse backgrounds. We've got a mixture of passion, technical presentations, and I think it's going to be a really, really good session, as always. So,
let's get on with it.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Yep.
Is there anything else from you, Robin, or have I hogged the limelight?
No, that's fine.
All right, okay.
Should have practiced.
Yeah, we should. Right, so first up, we've got Maxine Dolloway from TSI. She's going to talk to us about fit testing. And I think Maxine's done an Ignite before, so she's a semi-pro now. So, show your support and take it away, Maxine. Thank you.
Yeah, unfortunately, I am Welsh and it doesn't come with subtitles. So if you can't understand me, please come to Stand 20, TSI. There's some representative from England and Sweden, so they can probably talk to you. Rock and roll. Okay, so I'm the direct sales specialist at TSI. I've got 7-year experience in fit testing. I'm Fit accredited, and there's me looking really happy next to my poster, which I've got here comparing qualitative versus quantitative fit testing. So I cover the health and safety section at TSIs, and I sell into a plethora of different industries. Basically, anyone wearing a respirator, I go and see them. And along the way, I've found that there's many misconceptions in fit testing, so that's what I want to talk to you about today. I see this time and time again, people getting confused with a fit test and a fit check. The fit check is carried out each time the wearer dons the mask, and it's an indication that the mask is fitting them correctly. There's two types of fit check. There's a positive pressure fit check, which involves you covering the exhalation valve and exhaling into the respirator. And if there's a slight positive pressure and no obvious leakage, then it's considered that there's a satisfactory fit. A negative pressure fit check is where you cover the inhalation valves and breathe in. Reversely then, is if there's no obvious inward leakage, then that's also considered a satisfactory fit. So that's the fit check. Fit test is a completely different thing. It's a method for checking that the tight-fitting respirator seals adequately to the wearer's face. And it should be done in the UK according to the guidance that's going to be launched next week at the NEC, INDG 479, which has replaced the 28228. It states that all tight-fitting respirators should be fit tested, and it should be done by a competent person. And there's 14 steps that the HSE lists to deem a person competent. There's two methods of fit testing. There's qualitative and the quantitative. Both methods contain 7 exercises, 1 minute per exercise, and exercise should be, there's a lot of exercises in this, a lot of exercises should be included in the first test, in the fit test, sorry. Records should be taken for both methods. So the qualitative method is where you put a hood or bag over the head and spray them with chemical, and the person says whether they can taste it or not. It's a very subjective test, opposed to the quantitative, which it uses a machine to measure the fit, so it's objective. So, should I use qualitative or quantitative fit testing? You can only use qualitative for testing disposable masks and half masks. You have to use quantitative for full face masks, and that's quite a common misconception. What masks need to be tested? I often see people say to me, I don't have to fit test, I only wear disposables. The HSE guidelines state that all tight-fitting respirators have to be fit tested in the UK. The only exception is loose-fitting hoods. Oh, what is the difference between a sign protection factor and fit factor? I get asked this a lot. A fit factor is given after a fit test, and it relates to specific wearer respirator combination. It's calculated by the number of particles outside the mask versus the number of particles inside the mask. And the higher the fit factor, the greater level of protection that the person's getting. And the sign protection factor relates to the likely performance of the whole device when worn correctly and used in accordance with the manufacturer's guidelines. And the APF should be used at the start when selecting an adequate and suitable mask for the job and the person. Oh, facial hair. Often I get Santa Claus coming in for his fit test, and I have to say, no, sorry, because you cannot conduct a fit test if there's any hair growth in between the skin and the face piece, and that means they should be clean shaven within the previous 8 hours. How to wear and don the mask. The person having the fit test should don themselves and know how to check the straps, check the masks, position the straps correctly, mould the nose piece if applicable, and pull the chin flap down. I see a lot of wrongly worn masks. Fit to Fit accreditation. We've heard quite a bit about this. It's run by the British Safety Industry Federation, and it's an accreditation which proves the competency of a fit tester. So I often get people asking, can I pass your fit to fit? Is there a course that I can do? The only way that you can pass your fit to fit is by going through an assessment. There's a written assessment and a practical, and there's different assessments for qualitative and quantitative testing. So very briefly, in summary, there's many misconceptions. If you're unsure, check your guidance. The new regulation INDG 479 is coming out next week, launching next week, replacing the 28228. You've got the HSG 53, which is the guide on how to select suitable and appropriate RPE. And we've got the Fit to Fit scheme, which shows your competency, and also there's a list of accredited fit testers on there should you wish to get someone in to do your fit testing for you. Done.
Maxine, thank you very much for that. Nice update and a key topic for all of us. To be honest, I really enjoyed the pictures. The presentation, again, with your accent, yeah, I didn't get a word of that. Sorry, and I live in North Wales, so sorry about that. So next up, we've got Evelyn and the hazards of an 18th century ball.
Yeah, that's true. You're all invited. I'm from the Netherlands, but I'm taking you to France because we are going back in time and we are moving places. We're going back to about the 1750s and we're going to Versailles. I'm going to talk a bit about my hobby, basically through modern glasses, and my hobby is historical dancing. So, before we arrive at the ball, we need to get dressed. It's very important, etiquette, it's a thing. Gentlemen look very different than they do today. If you show up in jeans or just formal attire, it looks very different. Like you can see, it is a lot more frilly. You have a lot more like lace and richly endorsed or embellished things. Same goes for the ladies. There's a reason that all the big ballrooms have double doors, because you are twice as wide. This is not like an exaggeration. Also makeup. Now we just wear a little bit of mascara maybe, but also male and female, by the way, pale. Pale is the way to go, because paleness means that you are not exposed to sun. And only farmers are exposed to sun, so the paler you are, the more royal you are. The way to do that is by putting lead on your face. As you can see, it's a very interesting recipe to get the powder. The downside, basically, of putting lead on your face is that you lose your hair or your teeth, and it can cause nerve damage. Same kind of goes for the substances used for red, so your blush and your lipstick. It can actually cause redness, which is not the type of redness that we want, but, well, it's effective. Underneath all those clothes, you have corsets. Now, I know that this is usually a female thing, but also the guys wear corsets in this time. It helps your posture, but it also kind of cramps up all your internal organs. It helps with the heavy dresses, but it's not really comfortable. Well, like I said, lead is making you lose your hair, but luckily we have wigs made out of horsehair, female or human hair, but it's also infested with lice and other kind of bugs that you kind of don't want on your head. Luckily, you can take it off. I'm going to talk a bit more about the clothing that the people wore back then, and then especially the way that they were manufactured a bit. These are really nice examples of some dresses and some suits for some guys. There were different dyes used to get the colors. Some were natural, some were chemical, and I'm just gonna stick to 3 different types because otherwise I can just ramble on in 5 minutes, it's not enough. To get purple, aniline was used. It's also called morphine. It's a carcinogenic substance. Of course, it wasn't like present in the dresses themselves anymore, but if you were the person making the dress or dyeing the dress, you were definitely exposed. The same goes for red. It was either with phenol or with oxalic acid. It's also called orange red. It's corrosive, it can cause dermatitis, it can cause burns. Again, it's a theme with the redness. And the most famous one is arsenic green. We all know arsenic, it's highly toxic. It does give an amazing green color, as you can see, but not too healthy. Skin lesions, discoloration of the skin, etc. So, we're dressed, we're in full get-up, we have our hair, we have our makeup. We're here! Yes! Are we ready? So, too bad that there are more hazards or risks to where we are. First one is the temperature. I mean, it's quite warm here. Maybe it's just me, but now we wear like light layers of clothing, but then they would wear multiple layers of clothing. If we're all going, it's going to be crowded. I mean, this is the ball of the year, so temperature can rise. Sound level is also a thing. We have a live orchestra. It can reach up to 80, 90 dBs. And it would go on not just for the duration of a normal concert. This can happen like all night. So too bad we don't have earplugs. Another hazard is slipping or risk of falling. We are all wearing heels, male and female alike. We have the nice wooden floors that we see. We also have nice wooden heels. So combined with the dancing, we're still going to do it though, because that's why we're here. We're here to show off. We're here to dance. Let's just have fun, I would say. So we got an image like this. I think this one's longer than 15 seconds. There we go. So this is me in current times. We're not using LED anymore. We're using normal face paints. We're using normal lipsticks. So we've kind of eliminated all the risks and hazards that were there like way back in the 18th century. And it's a lot more comfortable, I can tell you.
Thank you, Evelyn. My question is, how did you go through my suitcase and find all the things I'm going to wear tonight? Robin also marked down that we'll note that historical dancing hopefully is not the same as dad dancing. So there's quite a few guys that do a lot of dad dancing, so we'll probably see that later as well. So. Okay, next up we've got Andre. So I met Andre, I had the pleasure of meeting Andre a couple of years ago. He came to me at work and said, I've got this idea and I'd like to create something because I want to make a workplace better, people's health. And I thought he's not going to do it. And I challenged him and gave him lots of questions to tackle and lots of hurdles to get over. So he came back about 6 months later and proved me wrong, answered all the questions, got over all the hurdles and gave me a fantastic scientific answer to every single one. And he presented last year on his university project, and he's making absolute leaps and bounds in what he's doing. So this is the next part of his journey. So take it away, Andre.
Thank you. So I'm here today to share the story of a newly formed startup company that aims to help improve the standards of health and safety at work, starting with 5349 and 8041, which relate to hand-down vibration syndrome. But first, I would like you to imagine something. Imagine walking into your kitchen on a nice Sunday morning. The sun's shining, everything's wonderful. And because you forgot the window open last night, you feel the temperature difference, and suddenly you can't grip your cup of tea because of blood mass flow rate in your fingers has reduced significantly. Apologies for ruining your imaginary Sunday. But, well, as of today, there are more than 300,000 people diagnosed with irreversible symptoms of hand-down vibration, and none of them are able to grip their cup of tea on a cold morning. I understood the severity of this syndrome about 3 years ago and started a research project to contribute towards finding a solution. I've had valuable support from industry professionals like Alex and others. And my research was indeed well received last year at the BOHS conference. My conclusion was that there is space for improvement in the British standards. I then started prototyping devices that could provide comprehensive monitoring using all the parameters related to vibration absorption. I then graduated with a first class in mechanical engineering and patented the enhancement in hand-down vibration monitoring technology and technique. Some prototypes worked very well and proved my theories. Essentially, I've introduced an additional term to the A8 mathematical formula and proposed a novel monitoring technique to tackle the understanding of the root cause of the syndrome. Many people recognize this as a great opportunity, and I was then assisted by Coventry University to start a company. Together, we sought for funding and talented people to help me. And because good ideas are like magnets, I found some very talented people to help me develop a market-ready product. The company exists because all of us believe vibration monitoring is not done right at the moment. We continued working and managed to develop a very impressive product that I hope one day soon will set a new standard of monitoring hand-arm vibration. We're currently working with the big UK manufacturer to produce a game-changing case study. And essentially, this is our journey so far. Our target is to reduce the number of HAV syndrome attacks to 0 in the next generation of workers. And the only way we will achieve this is to focus on prevention. With the data that we collect, there will be full transparency to resolve compensation claims, and health and safety managers will have a truly comprehensive view of the exposed workforce. And also, manufacturing companies will save millions of pounds because with full transparency over manufacturing tasks performed by people, they finally can strive towards 0 defects. My idea is very simple, but it requires synchronized efforts of companies and governments all around the world. We all should work together to improve the current reactive way of looking after employees' health to a more proactive approach where symptoms are prevented rather than treated. And of course, I won't stop at vibration. There is room for proactive continuous monitoring in all of the hazardous environments that we work in. And like I've illustrated here, vibration is just the tip of the iceberg. So I'll be here tomorrow as well. And if you work for or know a company that employs people exposed to vibration, please get in touch. Let's all collaborate to make sure everyone can grip their cup of tea in the morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that. It's great to see innovation and linking it with engineering, I think, in occupational hygiene, and the importance of when I need a cup of tea, I need a cup of tea. So if I couldn't pick it up, I'd be pretty devastated by that, I think. So priorities there. Okay, so right next we have Michael, who is looking at how we work together in partnership with IOSH. He's got special dispensation to be allowed in to do this presentation, clearly, and safe passage out again afterwards. Maybe.
Okay. What was the problem? Every year in the UK, about 13,000 people die from diseases which were caused by the work they do or used to do. Every year, sickness absence due to occupational disease costs the UK at least £1.6 billion. We all know that the lack of control of health risks in the workplace lead not only to ill health and deaths, but also to affect businesses' productivity, finances and reputation, all of which can be difficult to recover from. So what can we do? What can we do to have a look at that? We could use tools such as the OSHA Safety Pays to assess the impact of occupational illnesses on profitability. That could be up to £40,000 for a respiratory disorder. The OSHA professional's role to tackle ill health is to assist management identifying, assessing and controlling causes of ill health. We often have to justify the costs of controls against the potential impact of worker exposure to hazardous agents. That's where occupational hygienists come in. Just need to wait for that slide. Because the OSH professionals don't necessarily have the skills to do that. So that's where occupational hygienists come in. Contracting in support from occupational hygienists is vital to monitor for worker exposure and helps ascertain adequate control measures to mitigate exposure. So there are 3 stages. The need for the intervention is the initial stage. So working out what that is, cost-benefit analysis. Then the second stage is planning for the intervention and preparation of the business case. And the last stage is implementation and evaluation. Presenting the economic, social and reputational benefits of an investment allow an organisation to compare them with the direct and indirect costs. So when we're looking at a benefit-cost ratio, it's the basic definition of return on investment. This is quantification of the relationship between the benefits of a programme and its costs. If the benefits outweigh the costs, and you get a benefit-cost ratio of greater than 1, it's considered a success. Otherwise, you'll need to look at other justification. EU OSHA have done some research in cost-benefit analysis for small and medium enterprises. This slide shows the occupational hygiene has influenced the identification and control of aspergens in bakeries. The same can be said for the HS2 HIC indicator tool. That's been designed collaboratively between OH professionals and OSH professionals, and it's primarily focused on integrating the mitigation of health risks in design. We've got some further information on OSH investments, can be found in the IOSH Healthy Profit document. This report shows how investments in health, safety and well-being can help businesses to drive improvements in reputation, resilience and productivity. The IOSH No Time to Lose campaign, it's one of the main sources of occupational ill health is silica. We've developed these free practical resources along with BOHS to raise the awareness of health risks associated with silica dust exposure. We're working with organisations primarily in construction and manufacturing to reduce dust exposure, and we're asking them to take a pledge on occupational cancer, which involves delivering a business case. You can see here some stats. These figures help build the case for what the uncontrolled exposure to silica is a major problem in the UK and worldwide. How did they get these figures? Well, they came from occupational hygienists. To control exposure to silica dust, IOSH is encouraging businesses to design out the risks. So consider activities that minimise silica generation, use a different product that can't create a hazardous dust, or monitor and assess the exposure and implement controls. What controls can they use? Well, we'll know things like water suppression on fixed machinery, local exhaust ventilation, tool-mounted ventilation, look at training, and finally RPE. Crossrail, they had a good case study on this. They were undertaking spraying concrete lining in works, and they used a wet spray mixture with low silica concrete wherever possible, or precast concrete segments. They also did a programme of personal and environmental monitoring to measure levels of dust, which also looked at individual exposures and the effectiveness of controls. And using that, they reduced the risk of silica dust exposure significantly. So hopefully this can show that working together, OSH and OH can significantly reduce the cases of ill health in the workplace. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. It's fantastic and refreshing to hear that there's a place for collaboration in building these business cases. And I think that, well, I know as being a member of the board that we're going to look closer at how we can collaborate and work together on something. So this is really good times, and yeah, we should be looking forward to the future on collaboration and building these business cases for the whole kind of remit of occupational health and safety in the workplace. And thank you for that. Okay, next up, he's already there, eager, is Andrew Best from RPS. So, yeah, Andrew's going to enlighten us about something that I think that we all know. We all think we know what happens, but I don't actually think we do know what happens, apart from the people who work in this area. So, Andrew, take it away.
Hello, my name's Andrew, I'm from RPS, and as you can see, I'm not Pam. She's back at the office in Manchester. I've only just recently started in January, so my aim in this is to provide a perspective of what happens at our laboratory on a daily basis. So we understand the market, but your expectations can be a challenge due to quite a few different factors. We get that you feel frustrated being told that we may not be able to achieve this for you, but I hope that this presentation will help you understand the reasons why laboratories sometimes have no choice but to utter the dreaded sentence. The image here provides a clear example of what we encounter on a daily basis. We love a challenge, but don't get me wrong, because we're all about absolute delivery at RPS, but things can take longer sometimes. As the slide illustrates, if it's something fairly routine, we will get your quote within the hour. However, in certain instances, like the previous analyte, I'm not even going to try and attempt to say what it is, it can take a little bit longer. Now, this is where it gets serious, and I'm sorry, bear with me. Right, let's set the scene. It's Friday, it's 5 to 5, and it's not crackerjack. Request for 50 pre-weighed filters, 20 chrome 6 filters, and some chlorine. Deep breath. This just isn't going to happen, guys. But some of you might be asking why. We treat filters for some methods, and it takes 24 hours for the filter to dry down before we can dispatch the media. Chlorine filters are £250, as some of you are aware, so we don't keep them in stock. Those short shelf lives can be a nightmare, I know. We appreciate that the market is reactive, but given the previous slide, please call the lab ahead of confirming your sampling date. Here we have some interesting statistics that are about to come up, and they're going to give you an idea of the volume of samples that we deal with. We've just got some nice images of some of the treated filters here by our great lab assistants. Again, reiterating that point. Let it sink in. This was purposeful, I promise. Right, so again, yes, so the stats are sort of focused on this part of the process, the registering and processing of samples, and here are some samples that we've put with the worksheets in the relevant part of our lab. So last year we received 5,000 quotations, that's what we distributed out, which is quite a high number. You know, it's a great situation when it's, say, oh, you know, just some tubes for something simple like toluene, like a charcoal tube. It's easy to dispatch, but when it's something a bit tricky, it can take a bit longer. We did also have 60,000 samples in 2018. So as you can imagine, that's quite a lot of work. And when we sort of bear that in mind, that averages out to 1,155 samples a week. So, you know, the lab is very busy. And believe you me, if it's the last few weeks that have anything to go by, we will significantly exceed these numbers in 2019. And there's a lot of desorbing going on, as you can imagine. Here we have our lovely senior administrator, Kathy. I'm sure quite a few of you know Kathy. She's registering some recent samples that have come into the laboratory. She heads a well-organised team and runs a very tight ship. Imagine she has to allocate unique sample references to all those samples. As mentioned in the previous slides, due to the sheer number of quotations issued, it is important to include your quotation reference so that our team is able to locate the relevant prices quicker so they can get your samples booked in quicker. Key documentation to include is outlined on this slide, an example of that being purchase orders. Many companies will not process invoices which don't display a PO and insist we do not book samples in until we have that PO. So let's keep the account guys happy. Nobody likes an unhappy finance team. You can see the point on this slide mentions to check your worksheet. This is often the last opportunity before the samples hit the instrument for you to let us know if we have missed an instruction or interpreted your request incorrectly. We hate reporting late, so please help us get your results out on time by noting the above. With this slide, I would like to emphasise the importance of letting us know as soon as possible if you require the analysis performed on a faster turnaround. As you can see on this slide, our instruments do run multiple different methods, some of which take longer to prep and run, and therefore scheduling is key and to get the results out on time. Yeah, it's science, I know, and we all think of that as little miracles. Just remember, we do the impossible on the daily, and miracles can take a little bit longer. So, there's Pam. Thank you very much for your time, and if you have any more questions, feel free to pop over and say something to me. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Andrew. I think obviously you're further down the food chain, so we're dealing with customers who want a result yesterday, and then we then demand that of you as well. So we're explaining to them. So it's really useful actually to remind us there's certain things we can do to improve that, but also have an understanding if it does take longer and what's involved as well. So that's fantastic. Thank you. Okay, so next we've got Elliot. So Elliot's going to talk about looking after our equipment. So obviously that's very important to us. And obviously if we're going to use it for a reliable measurement, we need to make sure we do look after it appropriately.
Okay. Yep. So, good afternoon everyone. So yes, my name is Elliot and I'm the product specialist for the South East here at Shore City. I think I can only thank my boss really for making me do Ignite, but it's good for us all. So today I'm going to be speaking about the importance of service and maintenance and all our monitoring equipment, and just follow a few simple steps as how we can ensure our instrumentation is in the right and safe hands to use as and when we need. If it changes. I think I'm on the right one. So for some of us, our car is our main tool and we get this service regularly for not only our safety but also the longevity and reliability of that vehicle's life. When we look at our monitoring equipment, we should look and feel of this in the same way and ensure everything's kept up to date and calibrated. So I always like to use the term, if a unit isn't calibrated, you may as well lick your finger and hold it in the air to do any monitoring. I'm sure you're all aware all monitoring equipment must be within a valid calibration to back up any data reported and go with results and so on. Another benefit to keeping the instrumentation healthy and maintained is we avoid any big nasty service bills. All units have a warranty for around 12 months, but no one likes to receive those big nasty service bills to really ruin their day or month or year. With just a few simple steps, we can ensure we're all making sure our units are fit and ready to be used at any time. As we can see on the slide, this unit has been used in a very dirty and contaminated environment with no care. And the worrying thing to remember is how accurate were those results on that day and can they be trusted? Misuse and user nabbage are very common causes for large service bills. This can be reduced by offering product training or ensuring all users understand the capabilities of the units when in operation. You can see some examples on the slide which make this unit unfit for operation. We understand not all instruments have luxury lifestyles like Alex, and some can become very dirty and contaminated after short periods of time. Ensuring you have consumable items to hand or in stock is a key factor to reducing unit downtime and ensuring that your unit is fit for operation at all times. Like many other tools, storage can play a key part in keeping a unit healthy. Many units can become damaged due to bad storage conditions. Keeping the unit in a nice, clean, dry environment sounds simple, but some people seem to get this wrong. Ensuring all units are provided with rubber jackets to prevent them from any damage or from drops and knops is very simple and effective. Another key factor to unit protection is ensuring that units are not left in unsafe areas. We do get units back that have been run over and ask if we can repair them. Commonly, most instrumentation will have an IP rating, and that will show how resistant that instrumentation is to dirt or water. This is very easy to find out and is always listed on instrument data sheets. It's important to understand that that chosen rating is good for that task. The great thing about most modern day monitoring equipment now is that it will tell us when it doesn't like something. This could be a list of things from dead sensors, block pumps or faulty microphones. So going back to previous slides on mentioning spare parts such as filters, it's a great way to diagnose how easy an instrument can be repaired. It's also good to have a calibrated reference to reference that unit against, or if needed, calibrate or bump test. Over the years, we've seen some awful situations where end users have done or attempted to repair their own units with little care and attention. The most common is units that are taped back together and returned to us, and this will void any certification. So I hope you have a little bit of a better understanding of things that you can and can't do, and the sort of things that we get challenged to repair and whatnot. We'll just go over a few little simple steps to make things even easier. So just a few basics. So is everything in that kit? Chargers, calibrators, any spare parts? Is the unit in a safe working condition? No cracks, splits or faults? And does the unit go into a safe and reliable operating mode? So does the unit to respond to what we're looking for? So how accurate is that unit? Failing bump tests, we can start to diagnose instruments, or failing cows, we can, or speak to a member of Shore City and hopefully we can help in the right direction. Ensuring all users are fully aware of the importance of the unit and what it is doing, showing simple things like how to recharge the unit if needed can reduce damage and service bills. Most people put their phone on charge but can't figure out how some of the instrumentation goes on charge. Post-monitoring checks, after monitoring has been completed, is important to ensure that the unit does not require any further attention, like a service or a calibration. If you're happy with the unit and all the data has been downloaded, then again, it's important we keep it in a nice environment and, yeah, don't be the fool who doesn't get their instrumentation serviced or keep it maintained on a regular basis, because it will be inaccurate and void. Thank you.
Thank you, Elliot. You've mistaken my great big smile and passion for financial gain. I do this purely because I love the profession so much. So, but no, you make a good point, actually, the analogy of the car. So a lot of monitoring kit is probably more expensive than a lot of people's cars, but you'd probably not treat the car like that. So it's probably a really good way of thinking about. And yeah, that kind of error of margin, if you're measuring something at sensitive levels and it's covered in crap, then yeah, you're going to sort something out. All right, next we've got. Okay.
Craig.
Well, we'll yeah, Craig, Abdul. It's Craig, and then you. Sorry. He's too excited. Yeah. You'd be presenting Craig's slides, and I wouldn't want you to do that because Robin and I have seen them, and they're not that good. But bearing that in mind, Craig...
It's not about the slides.
It's not about the slides. It's about Craig. And Craig loves it to be about himself. So, no, Craig's a legend at Ignite presentations. He always does a good one. So we'll welcome Craig to the...
Afternoon, everyone. As you all know, I used to be a stonemason before I got into industrial hygiene. Well, if you'd bother to read my sales pitch for council, you would... Oh, sorry. Can you work? I never came in the bottom 3, I came in the top 6. So from here you can see stonemason for 8 years. 87 is when I started my apprenticeship. You probably think he doesn't look that old. Maybe, I think that's 97. Can you go back and change it? It was 1997 to 2005 I was a stonemason. Anyway, so history of stonemasonry. It's predicted that the art is over 6,000 years old. It is believed to be the oldest trade of civilization. And apparently, according to Google, stonemasonry and prostitution are the 2 oldest professions in history, according to Google. Some of the tools we used to use were a raft of electric and pneumatic tools, which would help reducing the time. You had the same sort of chisels, mallet, sort of used by masons. Obviously, you had hammer and chisel. This is an example of dressing a stone. The mail is made of nylon. It's really solid, but it's not heavy. And then you've got tungsten chisels there that sort of help you when you come to shape the stone in different sizes. And there's a sort of methodology for it. You would use a hammer and chisel more for roughing up heavier bits of stone rather than the fine dressing. So you would need to sort of vary between a hammer and a mail. So you can see some examples of where you would use it, you're splitting it. Some pneumatic and power tools. So the one on the left is pneumatic. It's driven by compressed air, and it's quite quick. I never used them in my time because I was more of the mallet and chisel, and then you can see obviously the power tool. I got this from the HSG. These are some examples from using pneumatic and mallet and chisel. You can see obviously some of the dust coming off there, and obviously it varied a bit depending on how wet or dry the stone was. Some examples there of using a grinder and a polisher. The dust levels there are sort of directional for the one on the left, and obviously they look pretty bad, and obviously sandstone got quite high levels of crystalline silica. This is quite common. Most of the masons where I worked would wear the same clothes all week. They never had overalls, so they would go home and come back with the same clothes, so the dust was quite bad, especially if you'd been using a still saw or a grinder. There's some examples of exposure for the sort of 4 main use of tools that I sort of showed before. Power disc cutting and the disc polishing is really, really high, as is the chiselling and the pneumatic chiselling. The stuff on the left, the lower exposures, well, sorry. Some of you probably remember this from your time in Glasgow at the BOHS, the Sheriff Court. But it's a restaurant, and I actually worked on that, and I cut that ionic volute. That was part of Ionic Capital. I worked here at the back of the city chambers. That is a vermiculated coin. So it's a cornerstone, and the vermiculated just means holes. So that was actually a photograph of something I cut at the back of City Chambers in Glasgow, which is quite an old building. I spent my time in these three areas as well as an apprentice. I worked up in the Charing Cross Mansions on the right. I got taken off after 6 months because the two apprentices that worked in the art galleries stole a cheesecake, and they wouldn't let them go, so I got moved up to the art galleries. This is the time, I got this from a website. So what's happening now, it looks like the students nowadays are actually getting a bit more health protection, LEV, and obviously full, a respirator. Oh, my apprentices. They are the laziest apprentices ever. PJ and Duncan, I don't know if you remember them, Let's Get Ready to Rumble. They used to sing that on the radio and dance. Can you do it tonight? Let's Get Ready to Rumble. There's Jim and Neil from Always Late. Used to have to drag them out the bookies. They used to smell of Old Spice and Brut. Really bad. The next one, Helen Pearson. She was the best student. I'm not so sure Adrian will agree with that, but she was really good, but then she got really bossy and wouldn't pay attention to any of my instructions. But Helen was a good student. She never admitted she was wrong. Now, Megan, unfortunately, can't make it. She had to stay home and cut a gargoyle. Not a self-portrait, I have to add. And Graham McPherson doing what he does best, standing about, doing nothing, with that glaciate-looking face. There's Neil and John. So Neil used to wear the President's Medal even when he was an apprentice. And he wouldn't let John, he wouldn't give it to John. John always done all the work. But I think he's going to get it in a few hours. So you think of stonemasons, you think of philosophers. Is the earth flat or round to solve these problems? How they navigate with the stars? Pros and cons of Brexit? These are the type of things you could rely on a stonemason. But the reality is, that's not true. Most of the stonemasons I worked with were alcoholics, which, as you can see there, some examples. So, thank you.
So, Craig, thank you very much. It was interesting there when you talk about trying to change, having controls in place and improving exposure for apprentices. And it'd be interesting to see whether that is then taken through the profession as well, because obviously you get put under a lot of pressure when you first go into the workplace in there. It was also interesting, did I get it right? You said that you've done both the oldest professions around. Was that, did I mishear that? Oh, no, sorry, that was Alex whispering in my ear, sorry. And the other thing is that you used to wear the same clothes for a whole week. Yeah. Were you wearing that top yesterday? Or was that, yeah. Yeah. So anyway, now, for the second time, and for real, we've got Abdullah coming up here, and he's looking at perceptions and challenges.
Okay, I'll work with the Norwegian Labour Inspection Authority, and not many people are familiar with what I do, so when I try to explain and maybe try to impress, I say part of my work involves occupational hygiene, and the question is, occupational what? Because these are two words which shouldn't be together. So I'll talk a little bit about perceptions and challenges. Main challenges which are identified in EU, it's implementation of existing health and safety rules, tackling new emerging risks, and aging of EU workforce. But what are the challenges elsewhere? Are the same challenges, or we have different challenges? So last year I attended a conference in Kenya, in Mombasa, Kenya, organized by a local organization, the OH Pro Services, and the aim is to promote understanding of occupational safety and health. Got to talk with many people, before the conference and after the conference. So some background information just to give perspective. There are 43 million people living in Kenya. The World Health Organization puts it at 46. And 45% of the working force works in the informal agricultural sector. We'll see some of what they do. So this is a daily thing. People crossing, coming to Mombasa, the island. From the southern side, you see the ferry people. And 45% of this will work in the informal sector. So you have many questions, and I wonder if there are any answers, because are they concerned with occupational health? What do you do? What do they do? Do they have safety principles at work and therefore to go for a training? You have all these questions, but answers, I don't know. So a little bit more information just to show how it is. There is a directorate which has several employees, engineers, hygienists, occupational physicians, and nurses, and authorized bodies, and very many others who are working some other places. So the DOSH officials, DOSH is the directorate, they say that we're doing very well or progressing because we have conferences where we can talk about occupational health, and we have lecturers at the university saying, oh, we have many master students who are doing their masters. But when talking to those people who work, a physician I know told me that he advised a company that they should assign a pregnant woman a different task from source of radiation, and he was told his service was no longer needed and he should not return. And a secretary, assistant to the director of one of the universities, when I told her about the conference, she said, oh, the conference is more appropriate for Bamburi, the name of this cement factory, where one can easily lose an arm. And our chief officer of the local government, he said, occupational health training is okay, but it's a double-edged sword, because once the workers know their rights, then you end up with industrial actions and strikes. So you end up with problems when they know what rights they have. And a national official from the Department of Public Health said, listen, malaria and tuberculosis and HIV are more pressing problems. You cannot justify using resources in fighting occupational health instead of these pressing problems. And a trade unionist who I talked to said, we understand and we know the need and we see the need for the training, but how do you tell workers to go for training when they've not been paid for 2 months? So this is a big challenge for them. They focus on the payment. But what about the workers? These are building workers, are sites you'll see everywhere in different towns. And they don't have any formal training, but you see that they make an effort. You can see they have some rubber gloves and some put on Wellington boots. I saw them using a lot of coconut oil. I asked them, why do you use coconut oil? And the answer was simple. Without the oil, you're looking for trouble with your skin. And then I read somewhere that the coconut oil has about 160 uses, among them moisturizers and relieve skin. So they got it right. And they are the transporters who also got it right, because they take off their slippers. It's easier to work without the slippers. They can transport anything at a price. So they take off their slippers to be safe. Working with the slippers and pulling those things is not that easy. Then there are the metal workers who can do anything with the metals. You give them metals and they can do whatever we want. And you can see some have some gloves, but is it enough? What else do they do? But I think the metal workers got it wrong. Because 2 studies which were taken 8 years apart show that the metal workers had, 89% of them had lead blood level, which was much higher than what is action level for World Health Organization. And even in car factory, the wife of this man who was exposed to lead died just by washing the clothes of the husbands. That's the extent of exposure to lead. And there are many other professions which, in my opinion, justify the words of Upton Sinclair when he said that it's difficult to get a man to understand something when his salary depends on not understanding it. Maybe all in all, there's no cause for despair as changing is coming. Maybe as these morons, you can see, they've changed from their traditional shoes to sneakers and even upgraded to leg pads as safety. They've not been playing cricket. It's just a fashion statement. Thank you very much.
Abdullah, thank you very much for, quite a heartbreaking and kind of shocking presentation. I think we complain about the workplaces that we work in sometimes, but that's a nice kick back to reality in terms of what other people have got to put up with in their workplace. And I know there are organisations like Workplace Health Without Borders that try and do some work and things like that, and it's great that there are bodies coming through, but it takes time, doesn't it? So no, I appreciate that, and it was a really nice kind of a nice presentation to kind of see that mindset. And cricket pads as a fashion statement. I remember that. I didn't bring mine for tonight, but anyway. Last but never least is Amanda Parker. Amanda is going to give us a message that we thought it would be the pertinent to finish on this one for everyone here in the audience to think about doing something next year. So take it away, Amanda.
Okay, thank you. So, are you having an amazing conference? Yeah. Can I hear a whoop whoop? Oh, not bad. But could it be better? What this conference really needs is you guys. I mean, I think, for what it's worth, that it would be much better if I was sitting down there, relaxing, and you were up here, basically. I mean, do you really want to hear from the same folk every year? Some of these guys? And I don't just mean Ignite, I mean the whole conference, basically. So what we do is about finding clever ways to stop health being damaged at work. Clever because they're practical, simple, and cost-effective. And the very thing that you have just implemented, recommended, investigated, may just be the solution for the person sitting next to you. I mean, take a look at the person sitting next to you. Do they look like they've got all the answers? So we need to share more, unleash your superpower. I would love to hear about your work and your challenges and your successes. Now, I know this is what some of you are thinking. I could never stand up there and present. Nonsense. Everybody is capable. And here's just a few tips for producing excellent presentations, whether they're Ignite or longer. So I am most definitely an introvert, but I can do this. It doesn't matter if you're an introvert or an extrovert. If you talk about things that you know about, that you're passionate about, and that resonate with people, then you can do it. Just be yourself. So start with a bang. Get some energy in the room. An impactful first slide. Pose a question. Make a controversial statement. Ask for a whoop whoop. And then relax. Less, it really is more. You only need 1 point per 5 minutes. So Ignite is really just 1 point. And for a 15-minute presentation, you could make 3 main points. Then tell your story. Find a logical thread to your presentation and stick to it. Don't digress. I mean, it was just like I was telling a friend the other day when I was going to do the thing. No, sorry, don't digress. And then slow down. Take it easy. It's presenting, not speed dating. You're not going anywhere. We can chat afterwards. If you have to talk as if your hair is on fire, then you've got too much in your presentation. You could add your email address to the last slide, continue the conversation after the conference. You don't have to put it all in a presentation and talk as fast as humanly possible. It's just a taster, okay? I haven't got time, no. And then smile, enjoy. You can give a presentation and enjoy it. At the very least, it will be like banging your head against a brick wall. Great when you stop, yeah? And then speak plainly, call a spade a spade. A presenter's job is to inform and inspire, not baffle and befuddle. And then use pictures, not words. I assume, like me, that you can't read and listen at the same time, so I'm going to shut up for a minute and let you read this caption, as it's a fascinating image. Get creative with your diagrams and pictures. Annotate your diagram to make your point. I mean, who doesn't want to know how many dead bacteria are in their poo? It's 8%, in case you were wondering. Or how much a tattoo on your forehead would hurt. Brilliant. Think about what props you could use. Bill Gates released a swarm of mosquitoes on an unsuspecting audience at a TED conference, saying there's no reason why only poor people should have this experience. Then practice. Practice on your pets. Whisper it to your budgie. Practice on your kids. Practice on your family. Just practice it as much as you can. And then when practicing, if you get either of these reactions, then you should probably practice a little bit more. But don't underestimate the impact of your presentation. We've come a long way with health at work, but there are still so many challenges, both in the developed and the developing world, as we've just been hearing about. And then, when you've done all of this, just stand back and get ready for a big well done. People are usually really nice. And if you want lots of people to say nice things to you, then give a presentation. I guarantee that you'll feel fantastic. And then, just like those other lifesavers, Nat and Nat say, let's go be fabulous.